Hey, welcome back. I just went through the whole song, listened to it front to back, so I spared you guys those couple minutes. I love it. I love it. I think everything sounded pretty good. Eventually, we'll take it out to the car, make sure it translates appropriately. The one thing I know we discussed that I might change is the snares rising up in here. I do like it. I think it'll be okay. I'm still going to let it sit and simmer after we add the vocals, kind of listen back. But there is one thing I do want to add to it. So if you guys come down to your heavy kick, I'm going to EQ these out as well. So I'm going to do a single EQ on this. So you can use a channel EQ for just a single instance. I like to put the single band EQ. So what I'm going to do is actually low cut the heavy kick. So again, if I bring this all the way down to 20, there should be no change. And then as we ride this up, it goes away. So let's go ahead, automate this. So I'm going to click, going to put a frequency. I want it to start here, and then we'll adjust this by taste. We'll put it on the last kick here so we make sure we get everything out of it. We'll put a marker here, and then I'll also put a marker here at the end of that kick. All right, so how high do we want to take it? It's going to be by taste. So let's see. I think 375 is a good starting point. Let's see what it sounds like. Okay, I like that. What I don't like is that I put a marker here because I can hear the EQ coming back in that split second. So let's make sure these match right here, and then we're back down to 20 so we get the full brunt of the kick. The other thing I don't love is I don't like that it rises in this section. I want it to rise in this other section. So I'm going to drop a point here on 63, bring it down. So then it only rises here and it rises fast. Cool. Cool. I think that does it for me. All right, so let's knock out the FX. This is more or less very simple part of the song. The reason I wait for these at the very end is because they're more or less just flavor to the song. They're not foundational. Your song should flow without your FX. So let's start with our vocal sweep here. So we're going to check on these guys, check our fades. Looking good. And then more or less, all I really do to FX are volume. I check the volumes, and I check fades, and then I check the EQ. So I don't want them putting any kind of rumble into the song that's not needed, like these risers, these downers, they can have a lot of low end sometimes. So we want to make sure it doesn't do that. So let's just work on the vocal sweep. As always, I'm going to pull up the master EQ, kind of watch this, and I'm going to listen. So let's start a loop here. So our maximum on the synth is right below this threshold. It peaks, I would say, just a little bit higher. So I'm being very picky now just because this is all we're doing. So I'm just going to drop it to 11.6. Again, this is not a focal point of the song. They're transitions, they're FX material. Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 And we got a piece at the end. All right. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to bring up an EQ. You guys should already have this vocal transformer on it. That's how we got that sound. So all we have is plus 12 pitch. It looks like that's it. So we're going to check the EQ on this. Okay, so there's a little bit going on in this area here. We don't necessarily need it. I'm just going to carve it to about 125. Sounds fine to me. So let's do this. All right, the other thing I want to do, I want to make this wider. So yet again, here comes the sample delay. I'm just going to delay this to the right just a little bit. I'm going to listen back to this. You can actually hear the delay on it. I kind of like that. You can almost hear I'm delaying it so far to the right that you can hear one side of the sample terminate before the other side. So I kind of like that. That's kind of cool. So I'm gonna leave that on here. Let's see what it sounds like. Can mute our vocals. That should be nice. I'm good with that. All right, let's check our riser. So that starts here. Let's check our fades. So let's work on the big ones here. All right, we don't have a fade out. I usually like to put just a single fade out. And then I know this one at the end is different. All right, let's just get a single fade here. All right, let's listen. Master EQ. So I think it's very loud. I'm going to turn it down. A lot of my airy FX you'll see relatively generally in the -20 range just because, again, they're accent pieces. Good with that. Let's bring an EQ up while we're listening. Doesn't hurt to put a high pass, low cut. Not bad. Cool. All right, so we have our EQ on that. We have our volume in here. All right, so we got this. Our sub drop comes next. Typically, I like to organize these, whatever comes next. We'll just do sub drops since I said it. So sub drops are typically very easy. The biggest thing we want to watch out for is where it starts, where it ends, and what other low end pieces are going on. So we have a kick in here. So let's listen to where this is. And an EQ, the master EQ is kind of your best friend for this kind of frequency behavior. So let's drop it to here. And let's just listen. All right. All I want to hear is the sub drop. All right. So we remember our kick hangs out about +5. Yep. So we don't want the sub drop to really take away from our kick drum. So this is peaking, I don't know, I'll call it +2, something like that. So let's drop it down till it matches. It's still a little loud. It's almost there. Now we could give it a little more juice, just half a decibel. Okay, so I like it there. The other thing I want to do, since this kick is coming in at the same time, That's a lot of low end information coming through at once. So I think what I'm gonna do is actually do a sidechain on the sub drop. So our kick can come through and we can still get that sub sound. So let's put one of our sidechain compressors that we have from any given stack. We'll take it from the chords. We'll stick it on our sub drop track. So I'm going to pull up X. It's our mixer. Chords. Here's our compressor with the sidechain. I'm just going to drop it right here. Now it's on our sub drop. Now we're going to check, see what it's doing. Let's just listen without that kick drum. So it crushes this sub drop more or less. I don't know, call it -7, -8. So it takes it down 8 decibels while the kick is playing and then lets it come back. So we let that kick drum shine. Now, is this totally necessary? I think it's the right thing to do. So with and without the compressor. So if you guys can hear that, they're definitely clashing for just a second. We only have these two parts going on. So could we get away with it? Probably. But with the compressor, we're safe. That kick drum pops in, sub drop comes right back in, flies right back in as soon as the kick is over. And that's very fast. All right, so I think I'm okay with that. We only have one sub drop in the song. Oh, we have two sub drops. Let's double check here. We probably have the same methodology going on here. We're good to go. I'm okay with that. Sub drop fades. We did a major fade on it, and that's fine with me. All right, I'm happy. Let's work on our downer. So more or less, this is going to be within the same volume range as our riser. We don't want the downer to take up all this space. Let's check our fades real quick. As long as these all have a fade of some kind. Yep, looks good to me. And they cut at the right time. This cuts before. You guys can adjust this if you want, but there's no information and we don't have to clean it up there. Everything should stop there. Everything should stop here. Everything should stop there. And then again here. This is just going to fade out. Looks good. Let's listen. Let's listen with everything, except for vocals. All right, so very loud. Let's take it down. Master EQ. See what's going on. Not a bad volume. Let's check on the EQ. It fades out pretty quickly and it never really gets to where it's going to be a problem. But I'm going to put this in here just so we don't have any issues. Sounds good. Let's check it here. Okay. Back into the drop. Here. And then the outro. Not bad. There's a lot of cool things going on in that downer. Sounds like there's like a tremolo. It's going back and forth. I can almost see it in the stereo file where this is bigger, this is smaller, this is smaller, this is bigger. It's going. All right. So we got our EQ on it. I do want to sidechain this as well. So we have a sidechain close by. It's right on that sub drop. Let's drop it on the downer. Let's put it right here. Copy and paste. And now we have a downer that sidechains with the kick. Now, technically, in a mix standpoint, we don't have to sidechain it, but that's a creative decision. I want the downer to play with the chords, to kind of almost be involved with the chords. So now, if we have everything in place minus vocals, now could you sidechain the riser? You could. I don't think I want to. I think I like the riser just cutting through everything, and then when the downer hits, it's drop time again. So I'm okay with that. Let's make sure we got EQs, some kind of processing on everything. Compressors, subdrop, don't need an EQ. Let's do our impact. This is the last piece of the song. Zoom in over here. And that's the only thing coming through. So we don't need to do any kind of sidechain. Let's go ahead, loop this out so we can hear it. Let's make sure our fade is good on the impact. Looks good to me. We'll pull up an EQ just to double check. Super high. Let's do this in terms of the master EQ and level it accordingly. All right. So our kick is +5. There's nothing going on here. I'm okay with like a really mean impact at the end. So it looks like it's at +5, maybe just a little over. So let's drop it down to like 11.6, 1 decibel. Looks good to me. Fades out. And I think that's a wrap. So the other thing, I hope you guys have done this. We have our bars up here, outro 2 out of 2, and our cut. So now on the stereo track, don't worry about this stuff. I have this automation. If we reviewed this automation at our cut point here, this is bar 89, we're clear. At bar 90, this is where I'm going to start to fade the whole song out so we can get ready for the next song on Spotify. So I bring this down all the way to negative infinite decibels at bar 91 and cut the project there. So the way we can do that, volume's usually loaded in here. You can click on volume, add an automation point, 90, cut all the volume out at bar 91. So we get everything shuts down. All right. So we have our song complete with FX. And we'll get on to vocals and wrap this thing up from a mix standpoint in the next session. See you guys.